Did you know your creative work is your superpower? Today we'll be talking about 3 power packs for thriving artists. Hello creatives, I'm Adrienne Lloren, the host of the Thriving Artist Masterclass. During this expert interview series, we will be discussing how to position, package, and pitch your creative work to resonate with more buyers. Today we have Kiala Givehand. Kiala Givehand is a published poet, bookbinder, printmaker, fountain pen collector, and advocate for all the healing arts. She believes in surrounding herself with ordinary humans who live extraordinary lives, gathering with people who make her laugh and love uncontrollably and live a life intent on cultivating happiness. She holds 6 academic degrees in various subjects from various universities, but the one she cherishes the most is her creative writing MFA from Mills College, where she studied with and later apprenticed for world-renowned book artist Julie Chen. Shoot, I just blanked out on how to pronounce your name again.
Kiala.
Kiala, okay. Kiala is proud to unapologetically pursue her creative and entrepreneurial dreams. She now runs 2 successful businesses and through online courses and in-person retreats teaches women all over the world how to find what makes them happy and pursue it without regrets. She has been able to cultivate an artistic life that includes book art, poetry, lots of silly doodling, and a ton of creative exploration and discovery. You can check her out online and in-person classes and follow her online shenanigans through KialaGivehand.com. And on that beautiful note, please welcome Kiala Givehand.
Oh my goodness, Adrienne, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm sitting here listening to it and I'm like, wow, I think I want to know this person. and that's like something I don't think I would have admitted or said, 5 years ago. I would have been embarrassed to say that I am proud of all the things I've done in the world. So thank you for that. You read it so beautifully.
Oh, well, helps to have a beautiful description of a beautiful person to read. So it's just beautiful, beautiful, compounded on beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm really excited to dig in. But before we really dig in on the power packs, a big theme of this show is how to resonate with more people. And I have a quote of you here saying, stories connect us while also highlighting what is unique about us. I think it'd be really cool if you could delve just a little bit deeper into the magic of storytelling and how that can cultivate deeper connections.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I come from a long tradition of storytellers in my family. Everybody from my great-great-grandmother to my uncles, everything's about story. And I didn't realize that growing up. It's not something I would have said at 15. Oh yeah, my family, we got a lot of storytellers. But as I grew older and wiser and I began to understand the power of narrative, and not just narrative that we tell others, but the narrative that we tell ourselves, I started to understand that stories have power in ways that we may not understand at the time, but if you just think about it, like I'm sure everybody has at least one person in their family who's like the storyteller, and then there's another person in the family who's like the story keeper, and those can be the same people sometimes, but you have that person that you can just go to and say, well, what happened with such and such? And they remember, they have the story. They can tell you the story of your birth. They can tell you what was going on when, such and such got married, and these stories, they get passed down from family to family, generation to generation. And they become a part of your DNA in a lot of ways. I was born into a family of people telling stories, and not that I can remember anyone holding me and saying, hey, this is a story. But I have lots of memories of anytime you ask someone, and even today, now, if you ask someone, it can seem like the simplest of questions, but 20 minutes later, you are engrossed in this story that they're telling you of this thing, And I do have people in my family who embellish the stories, and you're questioning the facts, and you're just like, did that really happen that way? But it's amazing. It's the power that the story can have to bring us together,
Mm-hmm.
to remind us of things. And even when we start to go out into the world and we meet other people, we are building a story. Like you and I now, Adrienne, have a
Mm-hmm.
story together. We just connected ourselves. And if I ever meet someone who's talking about being a thriving artist, I can say, yes, there was this time when Adrienne hosted this amazing masterclass called Thriving Artist. And right now I have a story that connects the two of us and forever will. And I think that there's just some beautiful power in what happens when we start to connect with other people. We are, in fact, building a story. Our lives just connected, even if it's for a short moment, even if you and I never, ever meet in person or never speak again, we're
Mm-hmm.
connected now, and we have a story that connects us. And so I think that as thriving artists, we have these narratives that we are creating, and hopefully those narratives include positive images about who we are and how we show up and how we position ourselves, the things
Mm-hmm.
we have. When I build a package for a client, when I say, okay, this is what I can do for you to help move you forward, I am in essence creating a narrative, right? My package is in essence a narrative for them. It's me telling a story of what I think I can do for them. So I just feel like stories show up in so many ways. Everything from the limiting beliefs we tell ourselves, that's a narrative that
Mm-hmm.
we've created. It may or may not be true. Most times when it's limiting us, it's not true, right? And so we have to learn how to rewrite those stories. And some of us are born into stories that are a challenge to get out of. And I think of that as just like generational traps, generational limiting beliefs that we have. And
Mm-hmm.
they're just stories, right? And we can choose to keep telling that same story, or we can add our own little flourish and embellishment and create a different narrative. And I think that for me, that's where the power of story
Mm-hmm.
lies, is in the ability to revise it and rewrite it and to create our own narratives going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we press the record button, we were kind of just talking about how I'm making a transition in
Mm-hmm.
my career path. You're making a transition in yours as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of making me think about that, like the magic of being able to just, oh, this is the moment I'm in. I want to actually create a new possibility for me. So let me rewrite my story starting from here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and that's super powerful.
Yeah, it
Awesome.
is.
Awesome. So we talked a lot, or you brought up a lot, the term thriving artist, which is
Mm-hmm.
obviously because that's what the show is called.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of, defines success differently for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you define thriving as an artist?
Yeah. Well, let me just say a little bit about the word artist.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to embrace that word, because while I have always been creative and can look back to my 5-year-old self and see that creativity in me and sort
Mm-hmm.
of remember that, I don't think I ever thought I was an artist. And so as I got older and did my MFA, and I realized that as a poet, as someone getting a master's degree in creative writing and poetry, that A at the end of that MFA means artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Masters of Fine Art. And so it took some time, and I still today sometimes struggle with that word. So I just wanted to say a little, about the word artist. I think of writers as artists. I think of, and this is so silly, but the guy at the grocery store who's bagging my groceries and doing it so creatively, he's
Mm-hmm.
like a grocery bagging artist. Like, so
Yeah.
I think that there's the loose, definition of the word artist, and then there's the very sort of strict, you're someone who paints or sculpts or does those sort of traditional things that we have come to call fine art, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
like to just say that word, if we allow that word to breathe, kind of like you do with, a bottle of wine, you pour it out, you put it in a decanter, you give it space to breathe. I think we kind of have to do that with the word artist, because, photographers, people who are dancers, I mean, the list is long of what it means to be an artist. So I just want to put that out there, that when I
Mm-hmm.
when I think of that word. So to me, what it means to be a thriving artist, it means that you are not in, the first definition for me is you're not in survival mode. You are not making decisions in your artistic life based on or from a place of lack or fear.
Mm.
You are thriving because you wake up every day and you feel the possibility in the work that you do. You feel the touch and the reach that you have. You wake up and you're like, this is the work I want to do. You're willing to stay up late if you have to do it because it doesn't feel like work. You are hitting all of your monetary goals, whatever those look like, because for some people, I work with people who say to me very clearly, I don't need to make six figures. I don't want to kill myself trying to make this six-figure life. That's not what I need. I need, $12,000 extra a year from my art. And I say, okay, well, let's build a life around that. Let's figure out how to do that for you so that you feel like you're thriving. So I'm saying that because I think it's important that everyone defines for themselves what that looks like. So for me, what thriving looks like is, yes, my bills are paid, because when your bills aren't paid, you immediately go into survival mode, right? You're trying, like, okay, now I got to quickly make something up really quick that I can sell to people because I need to make money, right? And you start to do things that can either be soul sucking or detour you from your actual real path. You're getting off on somebody else's off ramp when you should have stayed, on your own path. So for me, thriving is like the complete opposite of just living in survival mode. It means that you're not worried about those things and you can actually do your art from your heart. It is your soul's work. It is not the work of, I've got to pay this person over here. I've got to do this. I got to keep the lights on. I've got to, right? So you've created a life that allows you to thrive with your art and with the work that you do in the world. Yeah.
That just sounds like such a beautiful and magical space to be living in and being present in. And I think everybody's like, oh my gosh, I want that.
Yeah. And there can be ups and downs. Let's just be honest, the life that the society, the way society is set up. We live in a very consumer driven society. And so some days you may go an entire month and not sell anything. Now, I think that could be rare, and we're going to talk, some of my power packs talk about how to make sure that doesn't happen.
Awesome.
But the reality is there's an ebb and a flow to everything, right? And there's the yin and the yang, right? The universe is always searching for balance. It's always seeking to be in balance. And so I think that we have to allow for what I call the shadow side of thriving and then the light side of thriving. And so my goal when I work with people is to help them understand that shadow side is bound to come. You just need to have prepared yourself for that shadow time, right? For the time, for a lot of artists, that time happens right after Halloween, and it doesn't end until like middle of January, because people are in like crazy land with like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all back to back, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, like all the things that happen in that space.
Yeah.
And no one's thinking about like art. They're not, people are just trying to figure out how to, manage that crazy time. So one of the things that I always tell people is these power packs can really go a long way for helping you in the shadow time of the thriving life.
And I'm like an ultra optimist, and it took me a while to kind of embrace the shadow side of things. This is like, I kind of did a depth year like last year, and it was kind of just like searching within and kind of just having these like awakenings, epiphanies, and all of these. And I'm like learning to embrace like the shadow side. And I feel like I obviously I love being an ultra optimist because like I create a life that's rainbows and butterflies. I'm definitely like realizing, life is like this choreographed dance between calm and chaos. Like we can't always be in la la land, but when we are in those dark spaces, it's like learning the tools to, one, look at it in a loving space. I think one is super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
instead of kind of beating ourselves up for being in this like dark place and
Yeah.
recognizing the things about us that we don't like about us.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
learning to be compassionate and generous and loving despite all of these things about this. So I love that you touch upon that. And you've been hinting on these power packs. Should we dig? What's the call?
Yeah, we can go there. If you're ready to go there, we can definitely talk about those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, when I was thinking about, I'm really big on subtitles. And so the subtitle of this masterclass is how to position, package, and pitch your creative work to resonate with more buyers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that, it was actually one of the things that made me go, yes to you, Adrienne. I would love to be interviewed and be able to talk about this and share my perspective. I really consider myself, I just said to my family the other day, I'm kind of an around the way girl, like that kind of thing. And I don't know if anybody else will get that reference. It's totally pop culture reference, but
it was over my head, actually. I was like, what? Around the way? What way?
Yeah. So it's like the girl that just lives around the way. She's the everyday girl. She's somebody that lives around the corner from you. She's like your neighbor. You may not see, you may not know, but she's like just an everyday person. She's not a celebrity. She's not super famous, super rich, she's just an everyday kind of girl, right?
Gotcha.
And so I'm totally that. But I also have made a life that I love. I feel like a celebrity in my own life, right? I don't need anybody else to kind of tell me that. So when I go out and do work in the world, I step into the space of, like, when I look at celebrities, I really do think that they are role models, whether they want to be or not, doesn't matter. They do have a platform and they can influence people, and depending on what kind of celebrity they are, they may be really big name and household name and everybody knows them, like, Beyonce, or maybe they're a smaller,
no, I'm kidding.
maybe they're like a really smaller name and nobody has ever heard of them, but they're pretty amazing people. So when I think about that idea of positioning, packaging, and pitching, I'm like, it's basically we have to step into the idea that we are somehow influencing other people, right? Whether it's with our art, with our music, with our photography, with our sculpture, with our writing, with whatever it is we're doing, right? We are in some way influencing people. Even if it's only 5 people, doesn't matter. If you 5 or 500,000, doesn't matter. And so I come from that place when I talk about these power packs. It's like you opened this and in the masterclass with such a beautiful statement. Did you know your superpower? Like that. I love that. So the power packs, the first one is your free offering. Okay. Every person doing business today should have something that they're offering. And when I talk, small business work, artists, people in that sort of art space are considering themselves an artist. You should have some free offering. And I feel like the free offering is it's like your first way of positioning yourself. It's the way that you get into the homes of the people that you hope will eventually buy something from you. And your free offering doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be, but it just needs to be authentic. And you're going to hear me use the word authentic a lot, probably when I talk about these 3, because authenticity goes a really long way. What happens when we come out of the gate in a way that is not authentic and true to who we are is we are eventually going to feel incongruent. Our actions and our feeling, and our feelings are not, what we're doing in our heart won't necessarily be in congruence with each other. And that is when we get into this place of like dismay and darkness, and nobody wants to buy my stuff, and people don't like me, and we start having all this inner critic negativity come up because we've positioned ourselves in a way that isn't really authentic and true to who we are. And so now we're trying to constantly live up to that persona that we put out there, and it's not really who we are, So the free offering is your first opportunity to position yourself, to say, here's who I am. Here's how I show up and navigate the world. It's the first way for you to become visible in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just allows you to give value. And that could look like anything from, if you are a fine artist, it could be a downloadable print of some of your art. If you are a musician, it could be a short clip of one of your favorite songs that you've, written and recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I could go on and list what those could be, just depending on the different, type of artist you might be. So your free offering is your first power pack, and it goes a really long way in your business. You can use it for everything to get people to sign up for your email list, to simply being able to hand out to people at an art gallery, or at
Mm-hmm.
a festival, or it could be a part of your business card. I could go on and on, but the free offering is your first power pack. It's the first way that you can get yourself out into the world and start to give value. And those two words are very important. All three of these power packs are about you giving value in one way or another, and educating your people also.
Mm-hmm.
So the first power pack is the free offering. The second power
Sorry,
pack.
before we jump into
Yeah.
the second,
Yeah.
while people are listening, I'm sure they're like brainstorming on how they can apply this for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you brought up a really key thing where it's like, because the question I wanted to ask you is like, what kind of questions should they be asking themselves as they're brainstorming about this?
Mm-hmm.
One key question that popped up as you were wrapping that up to me was like, how can I give value? Is
Mm-hmm.
there any other like questions they can ask themselves while they're coming up with these free offerings?
Yeah. What do I want to be known for? That's a really big one. What do I want to be known for? So when I was creating my, I have several different free offerings depending on, the time that you find me. But one of the offerings I have is called the 8-day Creative Empowerment mini class.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was creating that, I was like, what do I want to be known for? I want to
Mm-hmm.
be known as someone who helps other people get creative. I want to be known for somebody who empowers others to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how can I do that? What can I do? I also want to be known as someone who journals. Journaling is a huge part of my life. It's a huge part of my ability to be a thriving artist, because I get to, journaling helps me just stay the course. It's like my compass, it keeps me
Mm-hmm.
pointing true north. And so I wanted to bring those things together. And so it's a class with prompts each day,
Mm-hmm.
to lead you towards empowering yourself creatively. And I want to be known for that. I want to be known as someone who empowers other creatives, or empowers people who think they're not creative to find their creative outlet. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, ask yourself, what do I want to be known for?
Mm-hmm.
And see where that takes you. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super helpful.
Yeah. And in my I know you'll talk about this at the end a little bit, probably, Adrienne, but in my free gift, I do kind of give some additional prompts and one exercise for each of these that could potentially help you go
Okay.
forward. Yeah.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
for those of them that are listening, I was like, wait, I wanted to like write that down really quick. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah. You'll
It's
get
gonna
more.
be yeah, but wait, there's more. There's gonna be
Yeah.
an extra gift tonight, really going through these power packs. Okay, sweet. All right.
Yeah. And I just, I want to give people, just a real life example here, right now. You're listening to this masterclass series with Adrienne hosting this. And this is a free offering that she has created. And it positions her as someone who is all about working with the thriving artists, all about helping you understand how to position, package, and pitch your creative work, right? And that's something that you're now going to be known for, right? So it's so just as a like real in the moment example for everyone, this expert series is definitely a free offering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely one of the big questions was, who do I want to be like working with? And like not even just who do I want to be working with, but like who would I have the most fun working with, and who would I enjoy really bringing value into their lives? And for me, because I'm an artist, and I'm like, I want to work with more artists because I love creativity. And if I
Yes.
can like make everybody around me like super creative, that would be so fun.
Yes.
So that was definitely a question that came in my head when I was, deciding about this free offering. It was like,
Yeah.
who would be the most fun to be
Yes.
around.
And I so love that you're saying the word fun. That is so important. And I don't think people realize that the work we do can be fun, you know? And fun for some people is like spreadsheets and everything is color code,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for others, fun is like free and we're not thinking about any of that, right? So I think that's such an important word, fun. And then you said, who would I enjoy working with? And that word joy it goes such a long way to just help us stay centered and grounded and authentic, right? What
Mm-hmm.
brings you joy? You know, Marie Kondo, the book, um,
Magical art
Spark
of
Joy.
tidying up.
Well,
Yeah.
that one, but then the Spark Joy that came after it, right? That idea of
Mm.
understanding what it means for something to spark joy in your
Yeah.
life.
That
So
book sparked joy in my life for sure. The
yeah,
magical art of tidying up. I
yes,
think that was the
yes.
theme too. Like when you're sorting through your stuff, it's like you hold each thing and like, does this spark joy? If not, let it
Mm-hmm.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even
Absolutely.
that too, I feel like, the whole theme of the show is like resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like because, and we were talking about this off air, about how like I've been on this journey of like finding my bliss and you've been on this journey of
Mm-hmm.
finding your bliss. So it's kind of like a no-brainer
Yeah.
that somehow we've connected, like in the space
Yes.
of the whole world, like we connected.
Yes,
So
yes. It's the energy that happens, right? And we tend to find like energy can find itself very easily. Yeah.
yeah.
And I love that you said that because this totally could be called how to position, package, and pitch your creative work to spark joy with more buyers. Like it could be totally
Yeah.
that.
It could be that. Yeah.
I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to number 2. Is that
Let's
cool?
do it. Let's do
Okay.
it.
So the second power pack is your signature talk.
Mm-hmm.
Every single artist should have a signature talk, even if it's a 20-minute talk. It doesn't have to be a keynote presentation or a 45-minute, 60-minute, 3 hours. It can be all of those. Or it could be if I am in an elevator with someone. Some people call it the elevator pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in an elevator with someone, what would I say to them? What would be my signature thing to say to them? If they asked me what I do, or if I just wanted to strike up a conversation with them. So you
Mm-hmm.
need a signature talk. Develop a signature talk, and maybe even develop more than when I work with clients, I have them developing more than one, but definitely have that thing that, when someone asks you what it is you do, that you can say it with ease and joy and authenticity and confidence and not stumble around, trying to figure out the right words for the right person, it doesn't matter, because here's where authenticity comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is not your person. Everybody is not your customer.
Mm-hmm.
And so your signature talk helps weed out the people who are not your customers, because you're not going to sell to everyone. There's 7+ billion people on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be everybody's flavor, And so it's important that your signature talk is the authentic you, so that you can let people know if it's right for them or not,
Yeah.
So the signature talk is the second power pack, and it also positions you to be able to be interviewed by people like Adrienne, to be on podcasts, to give keynote presentations, to go into schools and give free talks if that's what you want to do. But the signature talk is another way to gain some visibility. It's a way that you pitch your work to people. You say, hey, here's my signature talk.
Yeah.
And here's what I can come in and talk about. And even if you are the kind of artist that it feels, you're introverted and you feel, because I consider myself an ambivert, and that's just because I have learned how to navigate and straddle both places,
Yeah.
the introverted space and the extroverted space. But
Yeah.
for a long time, I just was like, I'm an introvert, and this is how I function in the world. And it took me some time to kind of realize that I actually can straddle both. But even as an introvert, I had a signature talk,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, I don't, my preference is to be behind the scenes, but I absolutely can step forward and give a talk and be front scene. And then I probably need like 2 days to recover from that. But,
Yeah.
right. And so I'm saying that because I know we sometimes have lots of introverts on these series, and they're
Mm-hmm.
listening in, and I want to just make sure they know that I am talking to them as well. This is a part of what you can do, and your signature talk Like right now, Adrienne and I are not seeing each other. We are just recording. I don't have to be seen
Mm-hmm.
to give a signature talk, right? And so the signature talk is something that when you sit down, when you look at your free offering, and these feed into each other as far as
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned. You start with the free offering
Mm-hmm.
and you look at that and you say, okay, now that free offering that I created, what could I go and stand in front of a group of people and talk about based on that? So you were asking, sort of, as people are brainstorming, okay, what would my signature talk be? Well, look at your free offering. And then what logically follows from a free offering? What kind of questions would people have that would have you saying, okay, well, let's talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
That often can be what your signature talk is. So
Yeah.
I have a signature
Something I
talk.
want to add just before you keep
Yeah.
giving a little bit deep. I just want to give a little note to let everybody know that, like, when you're thinking about the signature talk, it's not necessarily also like you're in front of this huge crowd having to do this talk. This
Mm-hmm.
could be one-on-one with somebody who's interested in buying your work or working with you. And then
Yes.
having that signature prepared allows you to go into that conversation confidently and like knowing where that's all going and it doesn't get kind of lost. So that's just
Yes.
something I wanted to point out in case people are zoning out, being like, I don't want to talk in front of a whole bunch of people. How does this apply to me? You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right.
yo,
Yeah.
listen in. This applies to you. Like,
Yes. Yes.
so
Absolutely.
just
Thank
wanted
you for
to interject that and then,
yes.
okay, carry on.
Thank you for bringing that in, because that is, again, when we start talking to the introverts out there and the people who are just like, yeah, that's not my path to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I tend to work in odd numbers, 3, 6, 9, for whatever reason. I don't know. But if I were going to add a fourth one to this, right, I kind of do like a little subtitle right there, like the signature talk could also be a really simple ebook, right? Could be a part of this power pack, because the signature talk is basically, if you were going to sit down and write a talk, by the end of that, you probably have a little ebook that you've written that you could share, right? So just keep that in mind. I'm saying to those people who are thinking, I don't really want to be in front of a bunch of people. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Your signature talk could take the form of like an ebook. It could take the form of a recorded audio. It could take, lots of different forms. But the
Mm-hmm.
idea is to have the conversation. It's you, again, going back to story. This
Mm-hmm.
is a part, it's your narrative, your conversation with people. So the signature talk, I think, is a really important piece. And I just say, when I look at my free offering of the 8-day, creative empowerment mini course, a signature talk that logically flows from that is a signature talk about creative empowerment, what it means to be creatively empowered, what it means to be creative, right? All of those things would fall under that. So look at your free offering and then see what logically leads from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the third one, you ready for me to go to the third one?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. This one is a really big one, because this is where we start to get into really talking about multiple income streams, right? So the third
I
one
think
is
that just like perked everybody's ears. Wait, what? A lot of money coming in? All right.
yeah. So the signature talk, in a way, is a part of an additional income stream for you, right? Because people can hire you to come speak and you can give talks. And especially those of you that are extroverted out there, this might be your jam. You might just be like, yes, I can do talks. I can add that to my, to my repertoire, and I can, make more money doing that. Well, the third power pack is teaching. And teaching, it adds an additional income stream for you, because not, when I say teaching, I don't mean that you there are lots of ways to teach. One way to teach is in person with people. You invite people in, or you go to where they are and
Mm-hmm.
you actually teach something. But
Mm-hmm.
the other way, and the way that I think is super powerful and very important, and every thriving artist has this in their power pack, is online teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you have one online class that you teach or 20 of them, the idea that you create something that people can access while you are sleeping, that is really powerful. Now, you can have the hybrid course where it's, you are teaching, people, connect with you live as the teaching is happening online. Or you have the self-study, the sort of self-guided, self-paced version where people just go, which is, they go there, they sign up for it, you're off making art somewhere. You don't even know it's happening until, the end of the day or end of the month or whatever. You sit down and you look at your numbers like, oh, I have 50 new people this week sign up for this class, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's that income stream. I hate to use the word
Wouldn't
passive
that be
income.
awesome? You go to sleep, you wake up, oh, look at that, 50 new people who want
Yes.
to sign up for my class.
Yes, absolutely. And so there's that piece of your power pack goes a long way towards what I talked about earlier about the thriving part, right? Where we have these things in place that are helping us add to our income stream because our income because we need money to live, unless you're like, independently wealthy.
Yeah.
You need money to live. It is a part of how the society is currently set up. So
Yeah.
we have to make sure that that piece is in place so that we can be thriving. And so the third power pack of teaching and doing work. And remember, just to go back to something Adrienne said, teaching can be done one-on-one as well, right? But I am talking about the idea of an online class or an online school even. I work with some clients who have online schools where they have multiple classes that you can come and take from them. And so I think it's really important to have that piece. Even if you don't feel like a natural teacher, I
Yeah.
guarantee you have something you could teach, even if
Yeah.
it's not, for instance, I'm a bookbinder and I do have classes where I teach people how to make handmade journals, handmade books, and I have a bunch of different ways they can, do that. But I also have classes on just the sort of internal stuff that doesn't have anything to do with necessarily making a book by hand, but it taps into what are you going to put in that book when it's all done, right? And so you don't have to think so literal in terms of I have to teach the thing that I do, but maybe you teach something that is on the peripheral of what you do that connects to what you do but isn't necessarily what you do, right? So think of that when you are sitting down to create, what is a class you could teach, and start
Yeah.
small. What is an 8-day class you could teach? Like maybe there's 8 emails that go out to people when they sign up for the class. They pay you $50 for the class and they get a series of 8 emails. One email has, each email has a little lesson in it, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this grandiose, I've got a class and I've been I brought in a video editing team and I did, it can start very,
Yeah.
very small. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the magic of being like with creatives because you can get really creative with it, like, okay, so maybe we can brainstorm a bit, like, because there's some people that are coming to mind. Like I have somebody in my audience who runs an opera. One wants to create, like wants to design like lingerie that's for like plus size women. A lot of really cool stuff, like a lot of musicians and artists. So like even like with those in mind, like what are some things we could brainstorm together, kind of give them a practical view?
Yeah. So let's go to the I think the musicians, people who are vocalists or musicians. If you know an instrument, that's one thing you could teach, right? You can also teach voice lessons. You could do that. And I'm going to talk both online, and I'm going to jump back and forth between online and in-person things. But also, you can definitely do pretty much, I feel like pretty much anything that can be done in person can be done online. You just got to get super creative about how you make it happen. Musicians could even go as far as to, teaching the technical side of music, right? And sound editing, and maybe you teach a class on the particular apps you use to record your voice if you're doing it, using applications, right? So the list is very long. So everything from the technical side of something, and this is for everyone. So don't tune out if you're not a musician. Like every single artistic area has the artistry part of it, and then you have the sort of what I call the technical side of what you do, right? For a painter, the technical side of what you do is the brush that you use, right? Everything from teaching people about the different brushes that you use, because that's a part of the technology of your art, right? So I'm saying that so that everyone knows that you have the artistry side of what you do, and you have the technical side of how you do that art. And both of those things can be taught. And so for the person that is, the lingerie designer, maybe you are teaching people how to, and let me just make sure I understand this. Lingerie design, meaning they are actually designing the lingerie and then selling it?
I don't know that bit, but
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
say yes.
So okay. So because when I think of a designer, I think the person that's actually doing the design of the lingerie, and then you have someone else that maybe the person, is also sewing it and then selling that thing. So I
Mhm.
would just say to someone who's in, let's just say, fashion design in general,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be necessarily lingerie, but anybody who's in that fashion design space, you literally can teach anything from how to draw the design all the way to how to make the thing. So if you are actually the person sewing this stuff, right? And everything in between. So how to make patterns, how to, create, how to find the right color combinations for things. I mean, literally
Yeah.
every element
A
and every
freebie
step.
idea that just popped in my mind was like how to measure yourself at home. Like
Yes.
you can buy the right size.
Yes. That is so perfect. And this is like such a crazy thing, but I don't think that I was properly fitted for a bra until I was like 40. You know what I mean? Because no
Yeah.
one ever told me that that was even a thing. I just go to the store. I'm like, I think I'm this. I'm going to get this bra, right?
Yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is like another thing that was coming to mind as you were brainstorming was
Mhm.
like asking yourself, in your area of expertise and all this that in your space, it's like, what was something that you learned that you wish somebody taught you?
That's a
Like
great
when you were
question.
starting,
Yes.
Because usually it's it's like super simple and you're like, oh my gosh, if
Yes.
I just knew this 5 years ago, it would
Yes.
revolutionize like everything I've been doing.
Right. And it would
And
have sped it up for you, right? It would
yeah,
have
and
gotten you there faster.
what a beautiful gift to give to somebody else
Hmm.
who was in your
Absolutely.
shoes 5 years ago, and now you're able
Mhm.
to make that. And that goes back to the making sure that whatever you're putting out there is giving value,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
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 Cool. I'm just looking at the time, and I don't know how
Yeah.
much deeper we could keep going.
Yeah.
Um,
I do want to say one quick thing about the running of an opera as a quick
okay, yeah, let's do it.
example. Yeah. So that person who's doing something like that, and I hear running an opera, and what I really hear in that is running any kind of business where it's almost like retail in a way, right? You're bringing people in to buy a particular thing from you.
Mhm.
So for me, when I think of listening to running an opera, I'm automatically like, how do we teach people to appreciate the thing we're selling? So how do you teach people to appreciate opera? You could do a class where you're teaching people to understand the history of opera, or you could do a class where you are teaching folks to understand opera etiquette, like, right?
Mhm.
Somebody who's never been to the opera. What do you
Yeah.
wear to the opera? How do you, what does it mean when the lights go down, when they blink, when, all the different elements of this, because it can kind of be like a foreign language to someone who's never attended the opera. It's a very
Yeah.
different experience than going to a movie theater, right? So
Yeah.
even doing something as that might seem pedestrian to you, but is
Yeah.
probably super helpful to other people. Yeah.
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 It's usually the thing that like really comes easily to you. So like for me, for my teaching pack thing that I've been
Mhm.
brainstorming and like kind of figuring what to do, and I would
Mhm.
just talk to a bunch of people and be like, um sorry, long story short, because we don't really have a lot of time. So the idea, like for me, it's like I've always been a doer. Like I was like, I'll come up with an idea and I just do it and I create it, and which is why I've
Yes.
done like over 75 like episodes of Toonie Tuesday for music and like a whole
Wow.
bunch of other
Wow.
stuff. Whenever I just kind of like, okay, I put my mind to it, I do it. So my friends who were like kind of the opposite, where it's like they have all these ideas and they're like, but it just stays in their head. And they
Mhm.
were like,
Mhm.
could you teach me like how to like jumpstart my ideas? And I
Yes.
was like, that comes so naturally to me that I don't even like I had to slow down my process to
Yeah.
understand like what I'm doing. And now I'm
Mhm.
building a course around that.
Yes.
Um so yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
like
love that.
another practical idea like to throw out there. It's like it's usually the thing that you don't even think about anymore
Yeah.
because it's so
Second nature to
natural.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I call that your gift. Like when you, or it's for some people, it's a talent, something you've honed. But for a
Mhm.
lot of us, it's a gift that we have. We don't even we don't know why we know how to do it the way we do
Yeah.
it. We just
Yeah.
do. And it doesn't come, other people are wowed by it. They're like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And we're like, really?
Oh,
Because
I
it's so
just
simple.
yeah, in your
Yeah.
head, you're like, "I just do it." Like, I don't know how to explain that to you.
Yeah.
Which is why
Teach
I
that.
had to, like, slow it down and be like, "What was I actually doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's been an interesting process too, and I just wanted to throw that out there to kinda help people kinda when
Yeah.
they're
That's
thinking about
perfect.
what they're building for themselves too. So could we do a quick summary again, what the 3
Yeah.
power packs were?
Absolutely. So the first one is your free offering.
Mhm.
Your second one is your signature talk. And your third is your teaching, your classes, online school.
Mhm. Yeah.
And those are how you're going to position, package, and pitch your creative work.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
then so I know we were, like, really trying to get into that really quickly because of
hmm
time.
hmm
So for those of you that still have a lot more questions and are actually working through this process, trying to figure out for themselves, there will be a free PDF downloadable packet
Yes.
for you guys. So just, like, go push that
Go
button.
grab
Yeah,
it.
and grab it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so just to wrap up, you said that there's something a new phase you're launching into right now?
Yeah, yeah. This is so funny that I'm putting this out publicly. I've shared it with some of my inner circle clients and students and people who follow are on my email list and follow me on social media and all that. But um, my husband and I just leased a space. We were traveling for a year,
Mhm.
trying to decide where we wanted to settle, put down roots. We've lived in several different places. We lived in Oakland, California, and we loved it so very much. It is still near and dear to my heart, and probably will always truly feel like home to me. Um, and I found myself saying to my husband, we need this time. I turned 46 this year, 2019, and it's just time for us to. I want to nest a little bit. I want to settle. I want to just feel grounded and rooted in a place. I want to be involved in community, and so we leased the space. We leased a space in
Mm.
Pensacola, Florida, which is my hometown. It's also his hometown. He wasn't born here, but he went to high school here. And so this is our hometown. My mom's here. His dad is here. Majority of my family lives here, cousins, aunts, uncles. Great. My niece and her 2 kids. And so I have family here and so much love and positive energy in this place. And I have been avoiding it for 20 years. I've been avoiding coming back here. Um, and I had a major breakthrough when I came for a visit and just realized that coming home, I had told myself a story, going back to stories. I created this narrative in my head that if I had to come home, it meant I failed out in the world if I had to come home.
Mm.
And I had to rewrite that narrative because that is absolutely not what it feels like now. I've come home. I'm not a failure. I have a thriving business, 2 thriving businesses. I have a loving and amazing relationship with my husband. I am not the person I left as, and I just now feel like this is a place where I can continue to thrive. And
Yeah.
it's amazing what rewriting that narrative did for me. And we leased this space so that we can do more in-person workshops and continue our online work and have a dedicated space from which to do that. Have my
Mhm.
cameras set up for my recording, and I
Yeah.
don't have to break them down every time, and I don't have to break down my art table every time I do
Yeah.
art. And being able to, again, it just feeds into the idea of what it means for me to be thriving.
Yeah.
And every day having to restart my practice the way I used to have to do when I had it like in my guest bedroom, um, it's going to feel very different.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different kind of thriving for me. So I'm
Oh, that's
really
so beautiful.
excited. Yeah, I'm really
Yeah, so
excited.
anybody that's tuning in that's in where did you say again? Where in
Pensacola,
Florida?
Florida, or anywhere near Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, and if
Yeah,
her teachings really resonated with you and you're nearby, go check out
yeah,
her new spot.
for sure. We're calling it Healing Arts, Creativity, and Empowerment Studio.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to make a trip down to Florida. What? This sounds amazing.
Come on, Adrienne.
I will. I'll make it happen. That's part of my on my list. I want to travel a lot more.
Yeah,
So we'll make that happen. I do have family in the States, so this could
awesome.
just happen. All right. So any final note you want to leave the audience?
Yeah. I think if I were going to leave you with one last piece of advice, the 3 power packs are powerful. Don't try to implement them all in one day. Give yourself time and space. Take one step a day towards, creating the free offering, then allow that to kind of be in the world, and then create your signature talk, and then allow that to be in the world, and then move towards teaching, or do it in reverse order. But whatever you do, don't feel like you have to run out today and you have to have all 3 of these done in the next week. And you got to, and some people will, some people work that way, and that's fine. But I just want to give you, let you give yourself permission to do one thing at a time and allow it to take hold and do good work for you in the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And on that note, creatives, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay on your grind, because the world needs that special gift that only you have. I want to send a huge, heartwarming thank you to you.
Thank you.
And a huge, heartwarming thank you to everybody tuning in right now. And we're gonna go and live our best thriving artist lives.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.